Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the final presentation of the day for our virtual SIGGRAPH 2020. I'm super excited to have a really great sneak peek at a tech preview of the new features going into Particle Illusion 2021 today. We have John Dickinson on board live from Sydney, Australia. So John's going to take us through some of the improvements we have made to Particle Illusion. It's going to be a fun one today. Before we get into the presentation, wanted to let everyone know about a new product we're selling, the Boris Effects Suite. Boris Effects Suite is basically every single thing that we sell in one annual subscription: multi-host, Sapphire, Continuum, Mocha Pro plugin and standalone, Silhouette standalone and Silhouette Paint, and the new optics. Normally priced at $12.95. It is on sale right now for $9.95. Use the code SIGG2020 to get the Boris Effects Suite for $9.95 as part of our SIGGRAPH discount at boriseffects.com. And speaking of the Boris Effects Suite, one lucky viewer today watching John's presentation will be winning an annual subscription to the Boris Effects Suite. Go to Boris Effects Live to enter your email and be entered to win this amazing prize. Basically everything we sell in one subscription. So good luck to everyone out there. Please like, subscribe, share, say hello. Let us know where you're watching from. Say hello on the chat. We have our friends at Boris Effects are monitoring the chats. I'll be looking at it as well as Alan and Peter, who are with me, will all be looking at the chats. We'll be able to bring your live questions right into John. And there's no better kind of teacher to answer those questions than John. So definitely don't hesitate to hit us up on the chat, and we will bring those questions in. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to say hello. John, what's up? What's going on from down under?
Down under, mate. Oh. How's it going?
Good. This is the end of the day. I apologize. I am beyond punchy at this point.
No, it's a bit of me, so I get energy.
Awesome. So joining John with us today are two esteemed panelists. We have Mr. Alan Lorence, the founder, creator of Particle Illusion and WonderTouch. Hello, Alan.
Hello.
Alan is the godfather of Particle Illusion. And we have Mr. Peter McCauley, the senior product management for Continuum. Hello, Pete.
Hello, everybody.
See you, my friend. I wish we could all be hanging out at SIGGRAPH like we should be, but we will make the best of it, as we have been doing all day with our virtual presentations. So today, we are going to take a look at some of the new features in Particle Illusion. And this stuff is ongoing. Like literally the program is being written as we speak. So that's my way of saying, if we crash or things don't work, it's not our fault. Because this is kind of wild, but we're super excited to show some of these new features. I figured we'd get started with a little just introduction. John, why don't you tell us a little bit about your career, how you kind of got started in this crazy business in motion graphics, and how you came on board Boris Effects.
Oh, okay. Way to put me on the spot, Brian.
I told you. This is a long day.
Yeah, right. I guess I've been doing motion graphics for about 25 years now. Hopefully, I don't know, does that push me into veteran stage? I guess it does.
Wily veteran stage.
Yeah. I think I did my first motion graphics project in about 1991 on an Avid Express, and I made a few blocks move around, and then I got introduced to After Effects, and I fell in love with it. And then basically, cut 25 years later, now I'm director of motion graphics and still using After Effects all the time and still loving it. So definitely made the right career choice. That's the shortened version.
Very cool. Well, we are happy to have you on board. I know me and you have known each other forever, so it's been a fun last year getting to work with you full time. Done some amazing tutorials for Boris Effects. We have a really exciting one coming out into the Continuum, right, pretty soon, which is John's been using Title Studio and Continuum, created a Into the Spider-Verse themed open that'll be coming out next week. So excited to launch
5 tutorials.
Yeah, 5 to how much time? What's total time on that?
I think it's almost 2.5 hours, maybe somewhere around there, maybe 2 hours.
Very cool. All right, well, let's get into some PI, shall we?
Fantastic.
Are you there, John?
I'm here. I'm just sharing my screen.
Oh, sure. In the meantime,
Okay,
like
so
I said, oh, go ahead. Sorry, Joe.
Screen's up. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can.
There you go.
Fantastic. Let's
see
do
it.
it. So, Particle Illusion 2021. This is going to be a sneak peek. So I'm going to show you some of the key new features that we're including in Particle Illusion 2021. Super excited. There's a bunch of things in here that are going to suit you for motion graphics and for visual effects. And I mean, Particle Illusion's been around for a long time, but I personally think this is one of the biggest changes to Particle Illusion in years. And there's a lot to cover. Turbulence, brand new turbulence features, and we're going to start with that. We're going to look at the new particle lines feature, which is really great for some creative options. You can see this image here, how I've used lines with the particles. And it takes a standard particle simulation and just jet propels it graphically for some really interesting looks. We're going to look at deflector improvements, and it sounds a bit boring, but definitely gives you a lot better look to the deflected particles. And also 3D particles. Can you believe it? For as long as I can remember, Particle Illusion has been a 2D particle generator, but now we have 3D particles, which is fabulous. So let's just jump in and have a look. So we'll start with turbulence. And I've got an area of particles here. I'm going to just select this layer, turbulence 1. And in my effect controls panel, just click on Launch Particle Illusion. And that's going to launch the Particle Illusion interface. And it's just coming up on my other screen. I'm just going to grab that. Just put it on this screen. It's trouble when you've got lots of screens around you. Here we go. Okay, so there's the Particle Illusion interface. Using my mouse wheel just to roll out of the stage there. And if I just press the space bar, you can see I get a preview of those particles. Just get this all the way up here so we can see it. Now, over here in my parameters, you can see at the top here is my emitter. And in my emitter, I have now a new turbulence field parameter or turbulence field category. And at the moment, the frequency is at 1. Watch what happens to these particles when I increase this frequency. We start to get a more sort of fractal noise turbulent look. Now I'm pressing the space bar, and you can see the particles are playing back, but they're not actually moving yet. So I can increase the auto evolve speed. Check this out. So now we get evolving turbulent particles, which is so useful. I'm going to cancel that and just come back to After Effects, and we'll take a look at another example. I just wanted to show you that example because it's really obvious how the fractal field is affecting the particles. Now here's an example of a single emitter that has 2 separate particles, and we can affect the individual particles individually. So if I click on Launch Particle Illusion again, there we go. Let me just check my stage setup. I'm going to go View and Load Layout Edit. There we go. Now I can see my timeline.
Hey, John,
So I've got
one
a
thing.
motion path. Yeah.
Well, while you're tweaking your timeline, could you do me a favor and hide that vmix little notification at the bottom of your screen?
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
I wasn't sure if you could see that or not. Thanks, Brian.
Yep.
So I've got on my stage, I've got a simple emitter motion path. And you can see, there go my particles swooping around, just like that. Notice how they have already got some turbulence in the stream of particles, but they're slightly different. Now, we only have one emitter here, but we have two separate particles. We have blue and we have an orange. So the emitter has, as you saw, the turbulence field where we can adjust the frequency and octaves, basically the detail of the field. And the emitter also has position and size turbulence. So these are like scale parameters, just as these are scale parameters for the particle parameters of the same name. So the blue particle has its own turbulence field as well. So I can increase the turbulence field of just the blue. And the same with the gold particles, or the yellow particles. And each particle has its own position turbulence, the amount of position turbulence, and also size turbulence. I'm going to increase the blue. Let's play this back. So under one emitter, we can have multiple particles. And we're not just limited to two, we can have numerous particles. But we can affect their turbulence individually, which is really nice. And look at the difference that makes with the blue one. When you're doing things like smoke and flames, anything really, it gives you a much more natural organic movement. And it's amazing to think that particle illusion hasn't had this, and the things that you can do now that it does. Okay, so I'm going to cancel that. Let's take a look at another example. Okay, so here's an example of how turbulence will affect a super emitter. Once again, I'm going to launch particle illusion. And it's opened up on my other screen. Let's just bring that back over here. Okay, let me just play that back. You can see how particle illusion is nice and responsive when I play particles back. I'll play back the simulation. So this is a preset that I've just adjusted slightly, Super Sparkle Burst. And I mean, it's a nice looking sort of fireworks burst, but having turbulence allows me to make that look even more interesting. So I've set my turbulence field options, and you can see position turbulence and size turbulence are at 0 for my emitter. I'm just going to increase the position turbulence. Just bring that up. You can see it's already changing the particles somewhat. Let me just play that back. You can see how the rockets just shoot out in sort of more random directions. Let me just play that back once more. Notice how they don't actually shoot out turbulently at the very beginning, but they only sort of pick up that turbulence towards the end of their life. And that's because we have turbulence over life settings as well. And that is the same for free emitters or sub-emitters in a super emitter, and it's also the same for particles. In this case, I've just animated the position turbulence over life for the free emitter. So you can see, here's the life of the particle down here. So at the beginning of the particle's life, it's moving normally, and then suddenly it hits that position turbulence, and it starts to change direction. So that's really good for things like, air turbulence, things like that, where something's moving through the air and then it hits turbulence. So definitely gives a little life to that emitter. Makes that look a lot more natural, a lot more interesting. Let's just cancel that one. Take a look at another example. And here we have just a standard emitter at the top. one of the presets. And this is the one at the bottom here is one that I've adjusted using particle size over life and turbulence over life. I'll just preview that in here. The top one is as the preset comes when you apply it, and the bottom one is with the turbulence settings applied. Let me just make that full frame. Notice how on the bottom one, the particles once again start out fairly straight, and then they gain turbulence as they progress through their life. So I've basically applied the same preset twice and just adjusted the turbulence features on that preset. So you can see what a difference that makes. And we're still tweaking these new settings, these new features as well. So it's not fully feature locked yet. So that's turbulence. You can see how that can really help you make your particle simulations more natural and more organic. Let's go on to the next one, which is lines. So what lines do is basically join the particles together, either to themselves or either to each other or to the emitter. I've got a few examples here. So I want to show you how it would look without lines. Here's an example here. And interestingly, I've used the turbulence features here. There's a circle emitter. So particles are emitting from a circle. And I'm just animating them using the turbulence features. And you can see that gives a really nice organic look. But if I turn on the lines, in this case, these are lines that are joining the particles. We get this look. And it's super, super easy. Just literally turn on one setting, just check one box, and the particles join up with lines.
Super cool look, John. Super cool look.
And they're great, aren't they? Yeah, this is a really nice sort of tech look. This is an example of the particles joining to the emitter. That's really nice. That gives that kind of a nice volumetric look.
Mm-hmm.
So we're getting a lot more creative bang for our buck just by turning on lines. You know, and if you put one above the other and just use maybe the screen blend mode, something like that. I was sitting for hours just playing with different options, just applying different presets. I mean, there's thousands of presets that come with particle illusion, and just apply a preset and turn on lines and just see what it does. So that's one example. Let me just come back to my project, my main comp, and let's take a look at this one. Okay, so we just saw this one. I changed the color slightly, but this is that super particle burst, which is really interesting. But check what happens when you turn on lines. It just brings that to life. So this is a super emitter as well. So there's even more options with super emitters for what you can have lines attached to. That makes that really interesting. And like I said, I haven't really done anything other than turn lines on. Another example here. So this is that kind of pixel burst. That was one of the more recent presets that was included with particle illusion. And you know, by itself, it looks interesting. It's got kind of a retro look. When you turn on lines, it looks like this. So even though the particle's size over life is diminishing until to a point pretty early where you can't see the particle, because it has lines on, you can still see that the lines are drawing until the particle finishes its movement and ends its life. So it makes that look a lot bigger. Got a real nice sort of techie look. And this is going to this example. This is more of a sort of I was thinking a beautiful mind kind of, you know, mathematics kind of thingy, just with a simple particle generator with a simple emitter, and by adding lines, it really makes a big difference. Look at them coming out like that. Get that kind of spider web of particles. So you can see how just by having simple lines between particles and between the emitter can really increase your creative options. Let me just quickly come into here. I'm going to just go into my project panel, just turn off the proxy, and come back to effect controls and just launch particle illusion. It seems to really like to be opening up on my right-hand monitor, but that's okay. So here's the particles. Let's see. Here we go. Just zoom in there. And lines, I just call up my turbulence field. Come down to lines. You can see lines is a new option under the particle type. So this is called new particle type. I should probably just rename it something. But you can see under properties, this is where we change the type of the shape that we have. Things like the behavior, the color, the alpha. There's a new set of parameters for lines. So I can connect to emitter and I can connect to particles. And like I mentioned, these aren't fully finished features yet, so you might expect even more. So connecting to the emitter and connecting to the particles. So just a checkbox, and you can see what a difference that makes. And I've got options for things like color, opacity, thickness. So some great new creative options coming with lines in particle illusion. Okay, let's go to our main comp.
John, while you're resetting, just some questions some people have. Are the line properties keyframeable?
Are the line properties keyframeable? Actually, that's a good question. Alan?
They are not. They're just set on-off or non-animated values. In this,
right? So it's
time.
Yeah, it's more of a check it on and see whether you like that look or not, isn't it, Alan? It's not. There's not a lot of modifiability with those parameters,
right?
Or animatability, I should say.
In the future, do you think that would be something that would be possible, or maybe
possibly? Yep.
All is possible.
I've been bugging Alan about when I saw what was possible here. I've been bugging him, obviously, as a motion graphic designer myself. Well, what about if we do this? How about can we do that? Yeah. So we're definitely, aren't we, Alan? We're looking at expanding what lines can do.
If the tapered lines would look really cool, wouldn't they?
We'll be looking for all of your guys and ladies, suggestions on what you'd like with this. We're all ears for what kind of features would work that you would like in particle illusion.
One more question from YouTube. Andrew asks, could an emitter be targeted to an FBX or an OBJ vertex?
Not at this time. Yep, not at this time.
Yeah, but like I said, they're feature requests that we're all ears about. So if you have a feature request, please send it through.
Yeah, and just to point out, at borisfx.com, there is in the forums, there is a PI forum. That's a great place to always put in feature requests. We all monitor that. The developers monitor that, and the product designers monitor that too. So that's a great place to put feature requests in.
Yeah, totally. I mean, obviously, this is software for you. So, if it doesn't have the features that you want, then you're not going to use it. So, I know as a team we're excited about it. and we're always, jamming ideas, but maybe there's something we haven't thought of, and that's where everyone else who uses the software comes in. Okay, is there any more questions for now, Brian, or shall I shoot on?
Nope. Let's keep going. It's
okay.
Awesome stuff.
So
really cool looks with lines.
Okay, so we've looked at turbulence, big useful new feature. Turbulence. We've looked at lines, new creative feature. Let's look at something that's a little smaller but still quite useful, which is deflector updates. And this is something that's just easy to see the difference. I've got the current deflector. You can see how the particles bounce off the deflector and kind of look like a snake. And it doesn't look particularly realistic. We now have a randomness option for the deflector settings. So if you increase the randomness, you'll get this on the right-hand side. So you can already see how you can get much more realistic simulations just by increasing the randomness setting. And we're also working on an option with this for when the particles hit the deflector that they will break. So you can break the particles into smaller particles when it hits the deflector. I haven't got that setting turned on currently. So here's another example here. I did my best at trying to create a waterfall. But you can see quite obviously how the left-hand side one looks kind of weird. Now, water wouldn't bounce like that unless it was, I guess, being pushed in that way. But the right-hand side one bounces in a more random way. You can see for this one, I do actually have the brake on impact turned on, so that some of the particles are actually breaking into smaller particles. So, a simple new addition to Particle Illusion 2021, but definitely useful for when you're using deflectors for making things look more realistic. Okay, I'm just going to go back to my comp. Let's look at 3D. 3D is probably the biggest feature in 2021. Having 3D particles gives you a lot more options. Let's take a look at some examples. Now I'm going to just come into this smoky sparkle burst. I've just got a preset here, just a standard explosion preset. And I'm just going to select it and come up to my effect control panel. Just launch Particle Illusion. Let's play this one back. So that's how the preset looks in 2D. You can't really tell from that whether it's actually 2D or 3D. You can see up here at the very top of the settings here, we have a new camera option, and we have various cameras that we can choose depending on what we're trying to do with the particles. What I want to do just quickly is just make this a 3D emitter. So I have to just twirl that close. I have to twirl open the emitter and come down to the emitter properties, and there's a new option here, emit in 3D. So I'm going to check that, and you will see it just jump slightly. And it still doesn't look much different. I mean, you can't tell whether it's 2D or 3D, but check this out. When I come up to the spin parameter and just change that, I can spin around that emitter. When I saw this, I thought, wow, finally. Particle Illusion in 3D. And that really changes everything. Remember, we've got thousands of presets in here. And thousands of presets in 2D is one thing, but thousands of presets in 3D? Come on. It's going to be so useful. Check that out. And I can tumble that as well. I can do flyovers. How good is that? So let me just cancel that for now. If you're an After Effects user, you can now use the After Effects camera, which is super useful as well. So let's go into this smoke example. I've already done a little render here. Let me just quickly look at the settings in here. You see I've set up the composition with just an After Effects camera and an orbit null. So if I just go into 2 views here and just click on the camera, see the camera's actually orbiting around the particles like that. Got a few lights in there. And let's come back to here. Actually, I'm going to show you where you can turn that on in particle illusion. You can see in here, use comp camera. So that's a new setting in Particle Illusion 2021. So we come back to here and just do a preview. Give you an idea of the difference. What I've done is just set up a composition where I've just created this 3D axis, these 3D axes, and I've just animated the camera to orbit around. On the left-hand side, we have a 2D particle simulation. On the right-hand side, we have the same particle simulation with emit in 3D turned on. So the camera is orbiting around, and you can see this is what you would get on the left in the current version of Particle Illusion. But now you can get a full 360-degree orbit around, and the particles are emitted in 3D, which is fantastic. I've just created a simple scene here with a solid on the floor and a drop shadow. And now you may be wondering whether particles can actually receive lights yet. What's the latest on that, Alan? Can users expect particles to understand lights in 2021?
I don't know yet. How does that sound for a wishy-washy answer?
Okay, so it is something we know that we want to put in, but whether it's put out in the next release is not yet certain. But what a difference that makes! Like, you can already see. I mean, particle illusion basically wasn't usable in 3D before, unless you sort of fudged it. But now you can actually put it into a 3D scene, which is fantastic. I've got one more example here. There's just an explosion. This one I'm orbiting around, but I've also just angled the camera slightly on the x-axis. Let's just preview this one. So that's fantastic. Nice and volumetric looking. And keep in mind, I haven't done anything to the preset on the right other than choose emit in 3D. I haven't had to change anything else. So 3D particles, absolutely superb.
I have a question for Alan. Alan, how long have particle illusion users been asking for 3D particles?
Since the day it was released. 1999. 1999 day one. That was the first question I got.
Yeah, it's almost like shocking for me to see it. As I'm watching John kind of orbit those explosions. Very cool stuff.
It is, isn't it? It's almost like you're not sure what you're looking at. It couldn't be particle illusion.
Yeah, it
really takes it to the next level. I mean, like I keep saying, you've got thousands of presets in here, and now you have the opportunity to make them 3D. So, and remember, we've got lines and we've got turbulence as well. So, with the inclusion of 3D on top of that, the creative possibilities with particle illusion in the upcoming version, are pretty much endless. And keep in mind also, remember, I'm showing you the continuum version of particle illusion, and there are useful features in the plugin version that aren't in the standalone version. Ben has a terrific tutorial on a YouTube channel that explains the differences. But Particle Illusion standalone is free. You can download it right now. And these new features will be in the standalone version. Correct, Alan?
Yes.
Sir. I love it. I love it.
So, yeah. So everyone gets a chance to have a play with them.
Really cool that we're continuing to develop the free standalone and add features like this. I think a lot of people's gut reactions to any time they see something issued for free is that, it's like, okay, well, they're giving it away for free, and that's just because it's kind of going to be locked in stone. But not so with PI standalone. They're really, Alan and the Peter and the whole Boris engineering team have done a great job including these new features and including them in the free standalone, which I think is amazing kind of give back to the community. So really cool to see.
Yeah, totally. I just think also, Brian, to add to that, particle illusion has always been a really useful particle emitter. It's so fast and there's so many presets. Putting these new features in and really giving some attention to particle illusion and really bringing it into the modern sort of particle generator field, arena is amazing. And this is only the beginning. We're looking at other things as well that we can add to make this really, the particle generator of choice for everyone. So that's my presentation. It's obviously a shorter presentation today because this is a sneak peek, but the team's working really hard on particle illusion right now, and we do have some presentations coming up for IBC in a few weeks as well. So I'm really hoping to be able to show you even more of what we're looking at and more examples.
Very cool stuff.
Can we have some more questions, Brian?
Can I jump in for a minute?
Yeah.
All right. So there, as John mentioned, this is a continuing development, and so the build that he's showing you, as cool as it is, it's from last week, and there's already some really kind of exciting things in there. For instance, we've added a new another lines option in there that John hasn't seen yet, but is I think probably even more fun than the one said he's already. What did you say? Spent hours on, John? Yeah, you're going to spend a few more hours with the new one too. So, and then right. One of the things in 3D, someone might be wondering, we'll have depth of field on that as well. Still working on that. Let's see, all the other stuff that goes with 3D, I guess. Now remember, it's been 20 something years for particle illusion, so. Don't expect every single 3D feature in the first release. The amount of stuff that we've done in the last since the last release is pretty amazing. So give us a couple releases to kind of catch up and get everything in there. So the OBJ models and all that stuff, it's definitely on our radar, but it's gonna take a few releases for us to kind of get it all in there. But yeah, it's so exciting. This is the first release that's really had, for me, brand new stuff. We've had a lot of great, UI improvements, and just the fact that you could run PI in a modern OS and you don't have to have your 10-year-old Windows version sitting there so you can run the old standalone, which I do. It's just great, to have it modernized and a little bit updated. This is the first time that really new features have been added in, so it's super exciting for me just to kind of push it and see what kind of new presets I can come up with and just have fun with it again. So yeah,
it's exciting really for me to see too, Alan. Yeah, I'm being able to work now with you as a full-time employee of Boris Effects in focusing on motion graphics, working with the creator of One-to-Touch Particle Illusion, and adding brand new features is pretty exciting for me too. I feel quite honored.
I'm glad to have you working with it because you are so creative with this stuff. So it's cool. And it's not fun. Just you, John, it's the whole team. Like Peter's got his own, Peter's been working with particles, with the Boris particle systems for a while. And so he brings his expertise to it as well. So, and the developers, of course. So it's a whole, I don't want anybody over there thinking I'm doing this, because it's not. I mean, I'm sort of managing the whole team, but this is definitely a big team effort on this. So exciting.
The thing is, if I'm in Australia and Alan's up, we cross over for a couple of hours in the morning. So most of the time, Alan's on the chat. So you're my first opportunity to sort of chat with anyone about it, because that's probably why I mention you above anybody else, Alan, because you're the one I tend to chat with.
No, it really is cool to see all these new features added in. Congrats to all the developers who are the real heroes who are writing all the code. We get to sit and just play with this fun stuff and make images. They're the real magicians behind the scenes making this all happen. And the speed with which these features were added, been stunning for me to watch from afar. I really didn't expect it to happen this fast. So it's great to see. And as we know in software development, it's not always that way. Right?
Yeah. Well, I would say, from my perspective, what's really exciting about having particle illusion as a part of Continuum is for a couple of decades, we've had particle solutions inside of Continuum. First, some 2D fakeouts, then the real, true, actual 3D particle systems that were really great, but they didn't have a GUI. So there's no UI, and not that you had to have a PhD in particle physics to understand how to use the system, but it's much more difficult to use without an interactive GUI where you could click on things and see things happen and that. So this, from my perspective, it's a great leap forward to actually have not just this fast, speedy, and beautiful particle system, which is particle illusion, but to have the GUI. It's so nice.
Yeah, it definitely makes things easier, doesn't it, Peter? Because particle generators inherently have a lot of parameters, a lot of settings, and trying to lay those out in some kind of useful way is very tricky. So having that graphical user interface definitely makes it easier to use. And the particle illusion interface is really responsive too, so it's easy to work with the particles.
Yep, that, and then and also being able to be able to stack all of these emitters in a single unified interface, just so much better.
Yep,
because they can literally stack any number of emitters, right? No limit. Limit to graphics card.
Also, and you can have multiple layers as well. Like in After Effects, I like to have particle illusion on multiple layers. Not just even on one layer.
Say, John, we've been getting a lot of questions, a couple of them now, about system and hardware requirements. One just came in right now from Arlong. And would you mind just telling us about your system, the system that you use? The base requirements are very low for particle illusion, but let's hear about your system.
Yeah, my current system is about 4 or 5 years old now. It's currently it's an HP workstation, 64 gigs of RAM. I've got a couple of 1080 GTX cards in there. Not that makes a difference necessarily to particle illusion. And I'm really running quite low clock speed. I've got 2 Xeon processors, so I've got 20 cores, 10 cores each, but they're only running at 2.3 gigahertz. So I'm pretty old-fashioned as far as speed goes. Yeah, so and it's amazing. You can have a high-end, fairly high-end workstation, but you've got low clock speed. You're still not going to be able to interact very quickly with After Effects or Cinema or anything like that. So I'm looking forward to working with something with a slightly faster clock speed. I'm sure I'm going to see a big difference. But even with this, you saw that I got pretty good playback there, and things are pretty snappy inside particle illusion.
Yeah, you had real-time playback there. So that's one of the great things about it. You can just hit play and it just keeps calculating and blows right through tens or hundreds of thousands of particles.
Totally. And also I can play it back as I'm making changes as well, which is great. Yep. I don't have to stop the preview in order to make those updates, and I can get an instant preview.
Mm-hmm.
If you are getting slow, you can actually decrease the number of particles if it starts to slow down.
There you go. There you go. One thing I was going to mention was that you showed like a lot of very cool stuff in there, and some level of integration inside the AE user interface. And one thing we didn't show, which I'm not sure if everybody knows this, might have answered a couple of questions, which makes me believe that perhaps this isn't like a universally known thing, but the plugin version includes the MoCA planar tracking system for both the emitter and the world. So basically, if you're trying to insert an emitter into a moving scene or onto an object in a lockdown scene, you can achieve those results with great ease using that tracker. Super nice.
Yeah, absolutely. MoCA's amazing, an amazing tracker. And to have it as part of particle illusion just makes it that much more useful. But as you mentioned, that's part of the continuum version, right? The plugin version.
Yep.
I have a question that's coming in that actually might be more directed at Alan. So obviously with the plugin version of PI that's in Continuum, that's really what you want to use if you want to composite your particles on a background. And in the standalone version, everything is done over black. But there is a way to kind of a hacky way to get a background into the PI standalone. Some people were asking about that on the forum. On the chat. So, Alan, do you want to kind of talk us through that kind of old school technique about
it? That's one of the questions that we get asked about the standalone all the time now. Can you render? We can render out in ProRes, but there's currently no way to import footage to put particle effects on top of. So if you need to add a smoke or explosion to a shot, you can't put a reference. You can't load a reference frame, even a single frame, into the current version of the standalone. So that there is a workaround for that. It's a little bit of a, like you said, a hacky thing, but. And John, I don't know if you know this trick. You probably didn't have any need for it, but all of the particles in particle illusion. What's that?
I said I was aware there was a trick, but I didn't need it because I've got the plugin.
Yeah.
So,
which is so much easier.
It is, yeah. All the particles use images or sprites, and we've got a big library of those. You can access all of the sprites that are in all of the emitter libraries. I don't know if, John, if you want to share your screen and just show that, bring that up, and I'll kind of refer to what you're showing. Any old emitter would be fine, so just jump into any of those guys and then open up particle illusion.
Of course, I've locked all of my layers.
And all of the presets have all the sprites included in them, so it's not like there's a big separate image library anywhere. But so if he launches this and then goes into one of the particle properties, you saw it earlier where he was scrolling down to show you the lines. You saw the colors. You saw the he mentioned the shape image has several names. The sprite. Clicking that little icon will bring up the sprite library.
So coming down to the actual particle?
Yep, to the particle,
coming
and then any one
properties.
Of them and show the...
I've got
a little
the
lower,
free emitter there. I need to come a bit lower.
Yep.
And come down to... There's a particle down there.
Yeah, there you
go. Click on...
And so, there's the sprite. If you click that, it brings up the browser, and you can see that you have access to all of the libraries on the left, and so you can see all of the sprites that are contained all there. It's much better than so much better than the old standalone particle illusion. It amazes me when I go back and have to run the old version. That's how difficult it is. But the other thing you can do, on the right hand side, there's a button called Import Shape. And so with that, you can go ahead and load your own PNG or JPEG image or sequence to use for the sprite for a particle. And if you have the right kind of particle set up, and John, I'm going to ask you just to cancel that for a second, and then go into the library search, and search
Okay,
for.
just canceling.
Yep.
Just give me a moment. Obviously,
basically, the idea is, as that's closing, the idea is you're going to load in an image or an image sequence into a particle and use that as sort of a fake background. So if you search for the word solid, hopefully you have the libraries. Yeah, there you go. Click on that library. And there's a solid color emitter, which you can go ahead and add. It's just a single, it's flagged as a single particle. And it's exactly as advertised. It's a solid color single particle. If you go into that one now and then change the sprite, you can load your image. Yep. Just like we were looking at before. Go into the particle. Properties. Go into the sprite.
There you go.
And then you can go ahead and click the import shape button. Now you can load in your screen grab, your frame or whatever it is, and then that'll apply. You might have to resize it a little bit, but that's the hack to get it in. It's not the most user-friendly thing for sure, but until we add that ability to load in footage, it's the only way to get sort of a visual. And we're talking about the standalone version, of course. If you were in the plugin version, you would have you would be able to see your footage directly in the workspace there. So
yeah, you've already sold me on the plugin. You've already sold me on the plugin. I got lost
totally.
One of the multiple reasons, one of the many reasons to get the plugin version.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, just
all the compositing options.
Yeah, you really want to use the plugin if you need that functionality. If you're just looking to render out something over black and then bring it back in and comp it in NLE or something, that's really where I think the standalone kind of fits the bill. But if you're interested
in the tutorials, Ben has a nice tutorial where he does just that. Actually, many of those tutorials show you how to use the standalone to do what you just said, or to render the particle and then composite it in. But then it shows you how using the plugin makes it a little bit easier. And there's one of the tutorials, I forget which one it is, John might know. He's got the steaming coffee mug or tea mug or something, and it's a nice example of how to use the standalone, which, as Brian said earlier, is completely free.
Yeah,
check out the Getting Started tutorials on YouTube.
No, go ahead, John. I was just going to say the same thing.
I should say, just check out the Getting Started tutorial series for particle illusion on the YouTube channel. Ben and I did like 18 tutorials for that set. I was just having a quick look at some of the settings, some of the features that you have in the plugin version of particle illusion, and you can see it here. You've got composite features. You've got various composite features and things like brightness, contrast, gamma, opacity. You've got different options for transforms. You've got a particle glow option, which is really good for adding built-in glow to the simulations. And you've also got, as Peter mentioned, motion tracking using the planar tracker, the Mocha planar tracker, and also the beat reactor. So being able to animate your particle simulations to music using continuous beat reactor, and also particle properties, which is something I didn't mention. So in here, you've got properties for increasing things like life, number, size, velocity, and keyframing them directly in the plugin. So I can go in and adjust the size, things like that. So there's definitely more than a few reasons to get these plugin version of particle illusion.
Just to point out too, a question from the chat, like if anyone's interested, so this is a new version we're showing right now, but if you were to get the plugin version, obviously if you were to sign up for a subscription, you're constantly being updated. But even if you were to buy Continuum outright, every license for Continuum and all of our parks comes with a year of upgrade and supports. So you'd be getting these new features for free when they come out next month. So if you are looking to buy or upgrade, this is a great time. You don't have to worry about missing out on anything we're seeing right now, as well. And I mean, I have to point out too, like, if anyone hasn't seen the amazing tutorial opus that John and Ben both created, it is an amazing introduction to particle illusion. To say deep dive would not do it justice. It is a full kind of PhD class in particle illusion that you guys put together. So thank you for that, and look at that segue into thank you, Ben, for TDing our live streams all day today behind the scenes. Ben Brownlee, unbelievable. Ben, I believe it is almost 1 o'clock in the morning in Denmark.
It is in fact Ben, almost 1 o'clock. Yes, I'm still going strong.
The voice from the man behind the scenes came from out at the end. So thank you, Ben. We have one final Boris Effect suite to give away. So congratulations to Juan Diaz. Juan Diaz wins 12 months subscription to the Boris Effect suite. So congratulations to Juan. He gets everything that we make for 1 year. So Sapphire Continuum Silhouette, Mocha Pro, and the new Optics, which is really cool. Everyone should check out. If you haven't seen Optics, it is a fantastic new plugin for Photoshop. You can get Sapphire plugins within Photoshop. So congratulations to Juan. For all the other winners, we'll be reaching out via email to notify you, and we'll get you your Boris Effect subscriptions as soon as possible. So thank you so much, John. That was an amazing presentation. Lots of love for lines, lots of love for 3D, showing some really cool new features added to PI. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I look forward to showing you more as we develop it.
Yes. And how about, let's talk about in man, I don't even know when it is, coming up pretty soon is IBC, that we're going to be doing a whole nother virtual kind of trade show. IBC is the most major broadcasting conference in Europe, usually scheduled for the first couple weeks in September in Amsterdam. Obviously, with the pandemic, we will not be attending IBC this year, but we will be doing something similar. We're having some great presentations. John, again, will be showing off PI. We'll be showing some new features in Continuum. We'll bring in some outside guests as well. Ben will be doing a ton of presentations. So we'll have a full lineup. So definitely follow Boris Effects on Facebook, or sign up for our mailing list to get updates on our virtual IBC. So I'd like to thank everyone. Thank you, Peter and Alan, for a great presentation today and joining in and helping out. Thank you, John. Thank you, Ben, for working everything behind the scenes. Great job as always. So that is it for our virtual IBC. I hope everyone enjoyed the presentations. We had a lot of fun. The replays will be up on YouTube. Virtual SIGGRAPH. Which is it? I wish it was
IBC. Easy street.
yes. There's lots to do between now and IBC. So thanks so much, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brian, for organizing all of this and putting it together. What a great job you've done.
Always. Now I can sleep.
Yeah.
So great. Yes. So awesome. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
See you next time.
See ya.